Hi folks, how you all doing? Will here, back for another fight card prediction. I'm going to be breaking down UFC 179 from Rio De Janeiro in Brazil, as Brazil's Jose Aldo defends his UFC Featherweight title against Chad Mendes in a rematch of a few years back, where Aldo got the win via a knockout at the end of the first round. If you think Jose Aldo wins this fight, give me a thumbs up. If you think Chad Mendes wins this fight, thumbs down. I think it's a lot closer fight than it was a few years ago. Right now we're in the middle of a little break here, a very welcome break for the UFC. We're about 2 weeks out from this event. I like the card. There's some pretty interesting fights on it, and some fighters I'm really looking forward to seeing again. So we're going to start off in the lightweight division. We're going to start with Fabio Comois versus Tony Martin. Fabio Comois is coming off 2 losses in the UFC, both kind of to good fighters in Melvin Gillard and to previously Jim Miller, where he lost. Comois is very much kind of a jiu-jitsu based guy. He got caught last time out. Jim Miller's a beast when it goes to the ground. He's a 3rd degree black belt under Royler Gracie. He just got caught, and this is a lot easier fight for him here for Comois. He came in facing big guys, and this is probably somebody more around about his level, probably just a little bit above in Tony Martin. Tony Martin himself is coming off 2 losses. Looked very good against Beneil Dariush last time out, before kind of gassing midway through the second round and getting taken out. Very rangy, a very tall guy for the lightweight division is Tony Martin. A good wrestler. He punches very well, but he prefers to kind of clinch and get to the ground. He's not going to want to do this here against Fabio Comois, or he's going to get caught in a submission, he's going to get hurt. So from my early views of what these two have, I think Fabio Comois is going to eventually catch him in a submission. If he gasses out like he did against Dariush, he will catch a submission and put him to sleep like Dariush did. If not, Comois should really get the decision win. Next up is a really good fight I'm looking forward to. It's Gilbert Burns against Christos Giagos. Giagos is the RFA, and he was the Tashi Palace lightweight champion. He's coming over here after a win over Dakota Cochran, a flying knee and punches taking him out, a 10-2 record, but he is fighting a guy I'm really a big fan of in Gilbert Burns, who's dropping down to the UFC lightweight division after having his debut in the welterweight division. Burns, a very, very top guy in jiu-jitsu, world champion no-gi and gi a few years back. He came into the UFC and went to his first decision, but he looked fairly good in that decision. Went over Andreas Stahl. Stahl was very, very tough in that fight. It was a good fight for Burns in the UFC. He has 4 wins by submission, 3 wins by KO, and that one decision. They are going down to this division here. This is the division he belongs at, and it's just adding to the talent-rich division of the UFC lightweight division. He's facing a guy here in Giagos. He was the former champion in RFA and Tashi Palace. A very, very good wrestler, explosive striking, but I've watched his 2 fights where he lost and he got caught by submissions, which is Gilbert Burns' main attribute in this fight, along with a pretty good gas tank as well. I can just see him overwhelming Giagos later on into the rounds, maybe in the end of the second, into the third, and catching him with a submission. I'm going to go Gilbert Burns by submission in the third round. Next into the Fox Sports 1 card, we have Felipe Arantes against Andre Touchy-Fili. Felipe Arantes, I think all he really does is fight in Brazil. I think he needs to get out of there a bit. Coming off a win over Maximo Blanco by a decision victory back in February. A guy who is pretty exciting to watch. Lost before that to Kevin Souza, a win over Godofredo Pepe, draw with Milton Vieira, and a win over Antonio Carvalho. A guy who's quite well rounded everywhere. Gas is quite bad from what I've seen. Likes to throw some different kind of strikes. His head movement's not great. But he's a very, very good fighter in the featherweight division as well. So he's facing Andre Fili here in his 3rd fight in the UFC. I'm a big fan of Andre Fili. I think the UFC kind of rushed him a little bit and gave him a big opponent back in April where he, I think Max Holloway actually came in for somebody in that fight there, and but that was a big fight for him to take on. Max Holloway, as we've seen about 10 days ago back in Sweden, is a very, very top 15 guy in the UFC featherweight division, and eventually he caught him in a nice choke and put him to sleep. Before that, he faced Jeremy Lawson at UFC 166 and looked phenomenal. His striking looked on point, and that was after a bad weight cut because he had to cut quite a lot on short notice. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a big fan of the Team Alpha Male guys, and I'm really wishing for Andre to get a victory here. I think he's going to have to take Arantes out if he wants a decision victory in this fight. In this fight, I think he's going to have to take him out. Goes to decision. I can see Arantes getting it via split fairly convincingly. But I'm actually going to go a knockout. I'm going to go Andre Fili by knockout in the second, and hope he pulls it off because I am a big fan of his. Next up, we go to the flyweight division. We've got Scott Jorgensen against Wilson Reis. Reis coming off a win over Joby Sanchez away back in, I think it was Albuquerque. Sanchez was a game opponent in his UFC debut, coming in late notice as well. But I think this is the division where Wilson Reis can really, with a couple more wins, he'll have himself a title shot, I reckon. He's against Scott Jorgensen here, who's also coming off a win over Danny Martinez by decision. But since coming into the UFC, and especially going down to that division, he hasn't looked great. He actually got hurt a few times by Danny Martinez. I think he got dropped in that fight. He has great wrestling, he has very good submissions himself, but I think Wilson Reis has just got too much for him here, and I'm going to go Wilson Reis by unanimous decision. Next up on the lightweight division, we've got Yan Cabral against Naoyuki Kotani. Naoyuki Kotani, I watched him in Dublin and he was horrific. Absolutely horrific. For a guy, he's got a lot of wins. I think he's got about 25 wins by submissions. Norman Park kind of went to the ground with him there, and he didn't offer anything. No offensive jiu-jitsu. His defence was pretty bad. His striking is absolutely abysmal. Even my fiance, who doesn't go to all the UFC events I go to, she was saying that guy just doesn't look like he should be in there, and she was completely right. Yan Cabral, 11-1 record. Lost to Zach Cummins last time out. He's coming down to the lightweight division, so he's going to be a huge guy in this division. With 10 of his 11 wins are by submission. I know Kotani, his probably strength is his ground game, but I think Cabral will put him to sleep. I'm going to go a first round submission for Yan Cabral in this fight here. The main fight of the prelims is going to be Patalino, William Macario against Neil Magny. This is a fight I'm really looking forward to. I think it's two guys. I think Neil Magny this year has been the best improved fighter over all of 2014. He's looked very, very good. His attributes have got a lot better. You've seen he's got wins over Gassano Mulatov, Tim Means, De Lima, and a very, very nice win over Alex Garcia back in August. And this is going to be his fifth fight of the year against Patalino, who's coming off a win over Bobby Volker. Who's very tough. He hit him with a lot of stuff in that fight, and not many people finish Volker. Robbie Lawler caught him with a huge head kick to knock him out, but looked very dominant and busted Volker up. This is a very interesting fight. Both long fighters for the welterweight division, very rangy. Macario is definitely the more explosive, where Magny will pop the jab, he'll try and clinch with you, and unload shots in the clinch, and move around and throw some knees and some elbows, obviously from that range that he has with his elbows and his punches. I just think this is going to be too much for Neil Magny. He's had a great 2014, definitely in my eyes the most improved fighter of 2014, but Patalino is a very, very good fighter, and he's going to be I think he'll be a top 15 fighter in the welterweight division eventually. Explosive striking. He's fairly good in the ground, even though he lost to Leonardo Santos in the tough finale about a year ago now. I like Macario in this fight. I think he's going to win. I think it'll be quite close earlier on. I think the longer it goes, like, he'll come into it a little bit more, and he will win via decision. So that's the prelims and the Fight Pass fights out the road. We're going to move on to the main card, which is okay. A fight that the first fight on the main card It's Carlos Diego Ferreira against Beneil Dariush. As I say, Dariush coming off a win over Tony Martin. Before that, he got knocked out by Ramsey Najem, but looked very, very good up until he got hit with a big shot by Najem. So a guy who's very, very, very good on the ground, works, fights out of King's MMA, looks very, very good on there. His striking looks like it's coming along fairly well as well. So his main strength is when you go to the ground, he's very good. But Diego Ferreira is a whiz on the ground, and this is going to be, I think it's going to be his third fight in 4 months in the UFC, and he's looked very good. He submitted Colton Smith back in June, fought Ramsey Najem, knocked him out at UFC 177. So this is his third fight in 4 months, and I really like the look of this guy. I think he looked very, very good in that welterweight division, lightweight division, sorry, and I really like him to get a win over Dariush here. I think he can actually submit him, and if he doesn't submit him, I can see him definitely getting a decision victory if he can keep his gas tank up, because say 3 fights in 4 months is a lot. So I'm going to go Ferreira by submission in the third. Next up, we've got Darren Elkins against Lucas Martins, who I'm very excited to see again. We all know about Darren Elkins. He's a very, very much a kind of grappling fighter. He wants to put you against the cage. He wants to just hit you with a few strikes to try and get you to the ground and lay on you. He doesn't finish guys. He is very, very tough. Where his opponent, Lucas Martins, is pretty much the complete opposite. He finishes guys. So this is all about Lucas Martins trying to stop Darren Elkins from grabbing a hold and put him against the cage and stopping him from taking down. Elkins, I know he got knocked out by Chad Mendes in the first round not too long ago. Win over Hayoki, and a loss to Jeremy Stevens last time out. So this is a big fight for himself. 3 losses in 4 in UFCs. Never usually kind of does too well. Whereas Lucas Martins is a guy who I think has finished his last 3 and even finishes them like late into the rounds as well. The third round, late into the fight. A nice third round KO over Alex White, who I thought was actually going to win that fight beforehand. I think I actually picked White as well. A win over Junior Hernandez by submission, and a knockout of Jeremy Larson before that. So I think eventually Lucas Martins is going to catch Darren Elkins, and I think he's going to knock him out in the second round. So I'm going to go Martins second round. Next up, we've got Fabio Maldonado against Hans Stringer. Maldonado went up to the heavyweight division back in May, and got put to sleep fairly convincingly by Stipe Miocic. I think he kind of saved the card because Dos Santos dropped out. It was a bad fight for him. He just didn't look like he wanted to be in there or whatsoever, and he was scared to take that punch. But in the light heavyweight division, I think he's on a 3-fight win streak. Before, I think his last loss was to Glover Teixeira. Wins over Hoylett, Beltran, and Gian Vellante, all by decision. I think from what I've seen of Hans Stringer, he's okay. He's kind of good everywhere, but Maldonado's eventually going to light him up a little bit and hurt him. I can't see him finishing Stringer, but I can see him getting another decision victory. So I'm going to go Fabio Maldonado by decision. On to the co-main event of the night. Glover Teixeira coming back off his loss to John Jones against Phil Davies, who is also coming off a loss to Rumble Johnson. Glover Teixeira, he just got totally outclassed by John Jones back in April at UFC 172, and that's not a slight on Glover Teixeira. John Jones can do that to anybody. He did get aggressive, but he did get put against the fence quite a lot, and he got hit at range by Jones, which is obviously one of his game plans, as he is a very, very long range fighter. Teixeira, we know his strengths. He's very good on the ground. He has one punch knockout power, like he showed against Ryan Bader. But Phil Davies, I think it's a big, big fight for Phil Davies. I think Teixeira's going to have a little bit of a hangover from losing to John Jones. Phil Davies needs this win if he ever wants to get a title shot in this division. Last time he was in Brazil, he got a big decision against Lyoto Machida. He's going to try and use the same game plan, I think, against Glover Teixeira as John Jones did. Keep him against the fence, try and manoeuvre around, throw knees, elbows, eventually try and get him to the ground. Teixeira is very tough to get to the ground, and Phil Davies is going to try and look for a submission. If not, he wants to try and take this to decision, which I think he will do. Very close fight, but I'm going to go with Phil Davies in this. I think he's more hungry for the win than Glover Teixiera is. And I'm going to go a unanimous decision for Phil Davies. And in the main event, we've got a rematch. We've got Jose Aldo Jr. against Chad Mendes. Now, this is the fight I'm really, really interested in. I want to pick Chad Mendes, but I don't think I am. Ever since these last two fought, UFC 142, I think it was, a couple of years back in Rio, Chad Mendes was he only had his wrestling, his grappling. He didn't really have much else. Now he's knocking out guys, and he's knocking out guys for fun. Since that fight a few years ago, Chad Mendes has definitely made the bigger improvements in his all-around fighting game. I think Jose Aldo, in my opinion, has got very comfortable where he is. He doesn't seem to want it as much anymore, but he has got that one thing where he can, in 1 second, he can knock you out and you can be out like that. So I think it's a very tough fight. I think Chad Mendes is going to try and get a hold of Aldo. He was controlling Aldo a little bit in there, and he was hitting him before he got hit with the knee and got taken out. But he has got that knockout power. He knocked out Clay Guida. Nobody's did that in the UFC, I don't think. And Darren Elkins, as I said earlier on, was another one. Last time he fought, I think it was December, he had the flu, he wasn't too well. Jose Aldo, since the Chad Mendes fight, he has beaten Frankie Edgar, he has beaten, who's he beaten? Chan Sung Jung, Ricardo Lamas, all by decision. Sorry, the Jung was by TKO, and I don't think he would have stopped the zombie, the Korean zombie, if he didn't get injured. So yeah, but we all know what Aldo's strength is. His striker, he's extremely quick, he's very pinpoint, his leg kicks are horrible. I hate watching Aldo fight because when he hits a leg kick, I just think to myself, I've took a few leg kicks before, but that guy throws with venom, and I wouldn't be able to walk for weeks on end. I don't think if he was to hit me with one of them. So this fight was scheduled for UFC 176 back in August in LA, and if I made the video for that back then, I would pick Chad Mendes to dethrone Jose Aldo and become the new UFC Featherweight champion. But it being in Brazil, I think that Jose Aldo is just going to try and outpoint Chad Mendes, hit him with strikes, get away, try and keep his distance, be quick on his feet. So I'm going to go Jose Aldo by unanimous decision in this one. And hopefully, Conor McGregor comes in and talks the biggest load of shit ever, and we see a matchup. Because Jose Aldo has beat everybody else. I think the top 6 people in there he's already beat. He's beat Mendes, he's beat Edgar, he's beat Swanson, he's beat the Zombie. The next one in line is Conor McGregor now. A lot of people are going to... I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan. People say, he doesn't deserve this, He deserves it. He is the biggest star in the UFC. If you were in Dublin and you seen the amount of things that guy did for that event, the amount of people he brought in, the amount of merchandise he sold, this guy is huge. We saw at UFC 178, he brought like 10% of ticket sales from Ireland. That's unbelievable. He's going to bring a huge stadium show to Ireland in the next 24 months, I reckon. He deserves this shot, and hopefully he gets it. And I think I'm going to go on record and say I think he'll beat Jose Aldo. But that is a fight I think people want to see. People want to see whether Conor McGregor is the elite that I think he is. People want to see him get knocked out. That's just the kind of fighter he is. But I'll always be a Conor McGregor fan right till the end, because he's a top guy to meet, and he gives you some of his time, which a lot of the fighters do in the UFC, but some don't. I don't think Jose Aldo would be that kind of person. So that's my fights for UFC 179. I'll be back next week. We've got 2. We've got Bisping and Rockhold, and we've got Shogun versus Jimmy Manawa, which is a fight I'm looking forward to. Big Manawa fan. Shogun's always going to be one of the best MMA fighters ever, I reckon. So come follow me on Twitter, BigBulber7MMA. There's a lot of good people on there that love to talk MMA. Come and find them. Ask me and I will tell you. I will show you the way to some good guys. Go follow Kingdom MMA, guys who help me and I write a little bit for them. So come follow me on Twitter. enjoy the card when it comes around in a few weeks, and I will be back for the double card a week later. Okay, thanks.